Next speaker, Mary Fenwick, is going to give us some perspectives from what it's like to be on the client side of the client-advisor relationship. After her husband's unexpected death, Mary found that dealing with her financial aspects of her life were simply overwhelming. Fortunately, her advisor stepped up to help her and her family. That's when she realized that the role of an agent is more than just about a transaction or selling a product. It's so much more. Please welcome Mary Fenwick.
I once heard a saying, if you want to know the true value of life insurance, don't ask an advisor. Ask a widow. That's where I come in. In the middle of a busy life with 4 children, a career as a journalist, and a husband who ran marathons, the world, as I knew it, disappeared. Without any real warning, forever. 1 minute I was a wife, a mother, a magazine editor. The next, I am a widow. I hate that the first thing that you hear about my husband is that he died. My husband, Will, was an incredible person. He was kind. He was strong. If he said he'd do something, it was done. He had a rare capacity to listen to other people. I still hear from other people who say when they have a challenge, they imagine talking to Will about it. Like the man, Will's cancer was rare. 1 in a million. It was shocking and it was fast. Most people have a vision of how cancer goes. You have treatment options, a chance to put your affairs in order, to say goodbye. Our experience was more like a car crash. Will struggled to accept the news that there was no possible treatment for his form of thyroid cancer. He never wanted to know how long he might have to live. I was told 6 months. In fact, it was not even 6 weeks. We ended up signing his will on the day before he went into the hospice. He was 44 when he died. Our children were aged 13, 12, 10, and 8. It was 2008, and the global financial crisis was just starting to take a real grip. On the day of the funeral, I heard that the magazine I'd been editing had collapsed. I'm saying all of that because the money matters. You know that better than I do. But people like me and Will need people like you to remind us. I know that our financial advisor had to be pretty persistent in those reminders. The details of every widow's story will be different, but our situation in general is increasingly common in that both Will and I had been married before. When we got together, Will had a daughter and I had 3 very small children. We didn't talk in terms of yours or my children, just ours. When Will died, suddenly it mattered again who was in charge of which children. The financial context was that Will and I had set up a business together, but the income was almost entirely generated by him while I was doing the children job. We were not looking for unnecessary expense. I remember it took an awful lot of perseverance on the part of our advisor to convince us to sort out critical illness cover. The medical assessors were not happy that Will had had cancer in his youth, even though he'd been clear for 20 years. We thought they were being overcautious. And life insurance, for someone who got faster in every marathon he ran as he got older. I once watched while Will had stitches in his face, and there was nothing that told me the anaesthetic hadn't worked. He couldn't be bothered to make a fuss. We were the classic scenario with young children, elderly parents, ballet lessons, Saturday morning football, clarinet practice, and hiding grated vegetables in the shepherd's pie. Luckily, we also had a financial advisor who just kept calling. Maybe partly because it was a second marriage for both of us, Will and I never forgot how lucky we were. Will worked as a board director and executive coach, and he always wanted to understand what was going on beneath the surface of things. He used to say, "The secret of happiness is not having what you want, it's wanting what you have. And I really, really want everything I have." We also used to talk about the concept of enough. Will felt that so many people live their lives always driven by wanting more and not working out what would be enough. He had a clear picture of how much money would be enough for us as a family. Where our imagination failed, as I guess it does for many people, was in imagining what would be enough if there was just one adult left for those 2 major jobs, looking after children and earning income. And we couldn't imagine. And again, maybe none of us wants to go there. How it feels to deal with those practicalities when you are grieving. When Will died, we had enough money on paper, but we messed up the writing of his will and gave away too much capital. I still have a very clear recollection of 2 points where I should have called our financial advisor. The memories are clear enough that I know where I was standing when the thought hit me each time. The first time I was in our utility room, watching a load of washing go round and round in the tumble dryer, while a voice on the phone talked about end-of-life care. The next time, I was walking across the garden with Will. We were on the way to feed our chickens. Will was leaning on me. We'd had the lawyer visit us that day to draft his will. He asked me if I was happy with what we had decided, and he said, the last thing that must happen is that you should go short. I was worried, but I didn't want to worry him. And I thought, I can sort it out later. But after that, everything happened too fast. Will did... Thank you. Will did not plan to die at the start of a global recession and a dive in the property market, nor for it to take a year and a half for the money to come through. On the plus side, he did not think that I could keep all 4 children together. He probably imagined that I'd sell the house almost immediately, and his daughter Polly would go off over the horizon with her mother, never to be seen again. He was completely wrong in that. All 5 of us, me and 4 children, have worked to stick together as a family. We had another 4 years in that house before I had to sell it, and we built a lot more happy memories there. Will's death does remind me how lucky I am to be alive. If money is the biggest thing that I have to worry about, then I am still fantastically blessed. Wouldn't Will love to be here for those moments when I realise I forgot to put the rubbish bins out for collection, or it's raining and the train is full, or I get to hug a child when they're crying and find out that doesn't stop even when they're taller than you. What have I learned? The symptoms of grief would be called madness in any other context. You can't think straight. Your heart beats faster for no reason. You can't sleep. I was confused, forgetful, and got obsessed about tiny things. It is not the best state in which to make long-term financial decisions. I needed a lot of help. It turns out that the symptoms of worrying about money are very similar. The heart palpitations, the waking up in the middle of the night, the moments where your stomach drops through the floor. Money does not cure grief, but worrying about money makes grief worse. There's another emotional element which I've talked about with other widows and widowers, but it probably sounds mad too. On a certain level, I feel a failure because Will died. I've lost my husband. Was that carelessness? It doesn't stand up to any sort of logic, of course, but I feel the tendency to judge myself harshly, even when I know it's the opposite of Will's intention. It's like, he's left me with this challenge. How am I dealing with it? When I had to sell our family home, I felt that I had failed him. I've also learnt that even having money can be a mixed bag of emotions. Polly inherited money because she was written into an aunt's will in her dad's place. From her point of view, the universe was saying, your dad died, but never mind, here's a whole load of money to make up for it. That thought made her so angry she didn't want to think about it. Luckily, we already knew a good advisor. Some people might think that the role of a financial advisor is purely transactional and based on selling something. My experience is that the transaction pales into insignificance compared to what happens when you need to make the claim. It's about having someone who can be proactive even when I don't want to think about it. It's about a whole of life relationship, not death, and not one single product. This is my message. Put the bins out without being asked. Tell at least one person every day how much they mean to you. And think about what is really enough. Someone in this audience today has made a huge difference in my life. Thank you all for doing what you do. It matters. Keep picking up the telephone, keep booking those appointments, and keep having those conversations. For there are many, many people out there, just like me and Will, who need people just like you. Thank you.